All right, let's talk about React. It's one of the biggest names out there for building web interfaces, so we're going to break down what it actually is and why it matters. But, to really get why React even exists, we kind of have to go back in time a little. What was the problem it was trying to solve? Why were so many complex websites just so clunky for a while there? Well, building these really dynamic user interfaces, it used to be a huge pain. With older frameworks, one tiny change in your data could set off this crazy, unpredictable chain reaction all over the page. Developers call that spaghetti code, and it was exactly what it sounded like, a total mess. It was slow, a nightmare to debug, and honestly, it just led to a really bad experience for the user. And that's where React comes in. It was actually born out of Facebook's own internal struggles with this stuff. So what is it? It's an open source JavaScript library, and its purpose is super focused. It's for building the view layer of an app. The part you, the user, actually see and click on. Now listen, this is a really important distinction. React is a library, not a framework. A framework gives you the whole kitchen sink and tells you exactly how to build your entire app. React doesn't do that. It's a specialized tool for one job, building UIs. That gives you a ton of freedom, but it also means you're on the hook for choosing all the other pieces for your app. So what was React's big idea? Its real innovation was how it handles updates. See, talking directly to the browser's Document Object Model, or DOM, the live structure of the web page, is really slow. It's a performance bottleneck. So React did something pretty clever. It keeps this lightweight copy, a virtual DOM, just sitting in memory. It does all its work there, figures out the absolute best way to make the changes, and then, bam, it updates the real DOM in one single, super fast, optimized shot. And this whole approach just completely tackles those old problems head on. That messy data flow, gone, replaced by a really predictable one-way data binding. The slow updates, solved by the virtual DOM. It even introduced something called JSX to make the code easier to write, and as a bonus, it helps with things like SEO. Okay, so how do you actually build something with React? The whole philosophy, the entire way of thinking, it all revolves around one core idea: components. The best analogy is Lego bricks. Seriously. Instead of trying to build this one massive, complicated thing, you build tiny, independent, reusable pieces. You make a button component, a search bar component, a user profile component, and then you just snap them all together to create your final complex UI. Each little brick is its own self-contained universe. So how do you tell React what these little Lego bricks should look like? Well, for that, React uses something called JSX. And I'll be honest, the first time you see it, it looks kind of weird. It looks like you're just dropping HTML right into the middle of your JavaScript file, which feels wrong at first. But here's the secret. It's not actually HTML. It's just a handy shortcut, what a developer would call syntactic sugar. It's designed to make writing UI code feel more intuitive, but behind the scenes, it's all just getting turned into plain old JavaScript. And this is a perfect example of what I mean. On the left, you've got this simple, easy-to-read JSX tag. But what's really happening is that a tool is compiling that into the standard JavaScript function call you see on the right. They do the exact same thing, but let's be real, the one on the left is way easier for us humans to deal with. All right, so we've got our Lego bricks, our components, but right now, they're just static. How do we make them come alive? How do we get them to show different data? Or even better, react when a user does something? That's where two key concepts come into play: state and props. First up, we have props, which is just short for properties. Think of these as settings that you pass down from a parent component to its child. It's like telling a component, hey, I want you to display this specific name, or I want your color to be blue. The parent is basically configuring the child. The other side of the coin is state. State is a component's own internal data. It's its private memory. So when you click a button or type into a search bar, what's happening is the component is updating its own state. And whenever that state changes, React automatically re-renders that component to show the new information. So the key difference is pretty simple when you break it down. Props come from the outside, from a parent, and they're read-only. They're for configuration. State is managed from the inside. It's a component's own personal memory, and it's what makes it dynamic and interactive. On top of that, every single component goes through a predictable life cycle. It's born, it lives, and it dies. First, it gets mounted onto the page. This is the perfect spot to maybe go fetch some data from a server. Then, whenever its state or props change, it enters an updating phase. And finally, when it's not needed anymore, it gets unmounted, and you can do some cleanup. React gives you these special functions, or hooks, to tap into each of these moments.
Now, this whole idea of building things with components turned out to be so effective, so powerful, that it didn't just stay on the web. It started to spread.
And that led to the creation of React Native. The idea behind it was both simple and, honestly, revolutionary. What if you could take the exact same way of thinking, components, state, props, and use it to build real, native apps for iOS and Android?
And this is the really cool part. You write your component logic one time. If you're on the web, React translates that into the browser's DOM. But with React Native, that exact same logic gets translated into the actual native UI building blocks for iOS and Android. So to be super clear, you're not just sticking a website inside of an app. You're building a genuine native application.
And this is where that famous motto comes from: learn once, write anywhere. Now, that doesn't mean you write the code one time and it magically works everywhere. It's more subtle. It means you learn this way of thinking, this component model, one time, and then you can apply that knowledge to build for the web, for iOS, for Android, pretty much anywhere.
So when you pull back, you realize React isn't just some popular library. It's really a paradigm shift in how we approach building interfaces. This whole idea of breaking things down into tiny, self-contained, stateful pieces, it completely changes the game. And it makes you wonder, if this idea works for the web and it works for mobile, what's next? Where else can this model take us?